Welcome back to the Get Off The Treadmill podcast for small business owners and entrepreneurs, where we show you how to build a successful business and to have a life too. We're going to dive into another topic that helps us make more money in less time and to get off the treadmill so we can experience a life of significance. And now, your host and the author of the #1 best-selling business book, Making Money is Killing Your Business, Chuck Blakeman.
I've got Cassie Morris back. She's an entrepreneur from Denver, Colorado. We've had her on before. Dreaming of entrepreneurship for years, Cassie took her professional experience and used it to pursue her own business, launching Clover Communications and Strategy in 2024, which provides business owners with process analysis and operations consulting. The launch of this business led her to the 3 to 5 Club, where her passion for business and entrepreneurship was supported, and she took the bold step to open Dilly Dally Donut Bar earlier this year. Welcome, Cassie. We're going to have some fun today.
Yes, thank you, Chuck. Excited.
Yeah, we're going to talk about this. In our last podcast, if you missed it, go back and listen to the last podcast that we had with Cassie. It was really just generically or generally on why you should have a big why and how powerful it is to get clarity around that and what her big why is and how it affected your businesses. In that podcast, we just mentioned that she did this really crazy thing. She lives in Denver. She's got a business in Denver. And earlier this year, she opened a donut bar in Bozeman, Montana?
Bozeman, yes. Beautiful Bozeman.
So today we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics. I wrote a book on this that hasn't been published yet. I keep revising it, which is really funny because you'll hear the basic tenet of this book is there's no such thing as a good plan. And so we're going to talk about why bad plans are your best friend and why you need a bad plan. You never need a great plan, ever. You need a bad one. So we're going to talk about bad plans. And Cassie, you just set the stage for how you understand bad plans, and I'll fill in with what I think a bad plan is as well. So
Yeah.
you heard bad plans in this thing called 3 to 5 Club, which is a mastermind group that we do, 3to5club.com. You can find it there. But tell us about this. This is probably the first time in your life, a year or two ago, you first heard this crazy
Yes.
idea of moving on a bad plan instead of trying to create a good one. What did that do for you? How did that hit you?
It broke the chains. I felt so free to be able to be bold and take a step and towards a goal without it needing to all be perfectly in place before I moved. It was very refreshing for me to hear, actually.
Yeah, and I didn't make any of these things up to sell them on the internet. I'm not that guy. I've built 13 businesses in 10 industries over 35, 40 years. And all of this stuff was built from me making mistakes, getting demoralized, wondering what in the world I was doing. And bad plans came from me. I had to figure that out for myself because I kept trying to do a really good plan and it would suck.
Yeah.
And I would get discouraged because things didn't go the way I thought they should go. So
Yeah.
it took a long time, I don't know, 5 or 6 businesses for me to begin to realize, this doesn't work to actually come up with this great plan. So it freed you up.
Mm-hmm.
How did it free you up?
I think when you set out to make a perfect plan or a good plan, you're setting yourself up for disappointment because it's never going to feel good enough. And even if you're like, okay, this is really good, and you start to implement it, it's not going to work the way you want because it just doesn't. Business just doesn't work that way. And so then if you're like, okay, I'm just going to make a bad plan, and then you look at it, you're like, hey, this actually isn't so bad. It really shifts your perspective and your expectation. And I think trying to make that perfect plan before you can move it causes you to freeze and just give up on your dreams, honestly.
Yes, and I've had so many people talk to me about the SBA in general, how it has ruined their dreams because they want a perfect plan and they can come up with, especially the old guys who do the advising now, they want you to come up with a perfect plan.
Mm-hmm.
They give you 27 reasons why your bad plan won't work and you just get discouraged and quit. There's no such thing as a good plan. I can't wait for my book to come out at some point because there's story after story after story of how bad all these plans were to do things like Apple and Microsoft and Hewlett and Packard and fill in the blank.
Mm-hmm.
They were all bad plans. I'm trying to figure out the name of the fighter. I think it was George, it wasn't George, Mike Tyson, I think, said everybody has a plan until they get hit in the mouth. And that's
Right.
what I experienced, right? We kept coming
Yeah.
up with great plans and then they didn't work that way. And
Mm-hmm.
we have to realize that it's not going to work that way. And this isn't new. I didn't make this up. The programming world has been talking about minimum viable product, MVP, I don't know, for 30 years. It's not a new thing. Come up with something and iterate, get moving. Jeff Bezos was packing boxes in his basement. Amazon was a used book reseller. That's all it was.
Yeah.
That's a bad plan, but it was
Yeah.
good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Getting moving. So, you said this earlier in so many words that it freed you up so that you could get moving. And that's what it's done for me. I
Yeah.
realize now that if I have 80%, I can get 80% of the information very quickly and move on it because I'll never get the other 20% until I move. So let me give our
Absolutely.
audience one of the cardinal rules of planning. And this is a rule of bad plans. Planning doesn't create movement. Movement creates the plan.
Yes.
And you give me any business you've ever met, and I'm going to help you. I'm going to talk to the owner. We're going to find out that the reason they got where they was, it was because they moved. It wasn't because they sat around thinking about stuff. They thought about some things, but then they got moving. So I want to take this to Dilly Dally Donut Bar in Bozeman, Montana.
Mm-hmm.
You're hearing about these crazy things called bad plans, and that the only way to get to a good plan is to get moving, and the movement will create the good plan. How does that relate to Dilly Dally Donut Bar? What in the world were you thinking?
What was I thinking? I blame you. No, I'm just kidding.
It's okay.
No.
I'm here too.
Well, I was working with business owners and helping them with their operations, helping them with processes. And really, the goal of that was to help them get out of their own way
Uh-huh.
so that they could have a fulfilling business that gave them, help them to their big why.
Right.
And because you've said so many times, we create our own chaos, and a lot of these owners, they created this chaos and now they're stuck in it and they don't know how to get out. And I was actually working with who is now the chef for Dilly Dally Donut Bar, who happens to be my sister, but she lives in Montana. But she was one of my clients, and I was helping her with her personal chef business there because she's just so busy. The operations were falling to the side. But what we really unearthed, and I think being in 3 to 5 Club helped me to really see it in her, and it helps me to see it in my clients, was just how miserable she was because she wasn't pursuing her big why. She wasn't focused on her own authentic self. And I was just like, let's make this happen. It was a dream that she had. And my dream is helping business owners realize their dreams, and she's like, I don't know how we're going to do this, and I was like, you get the recipes and let me get it started. And I was just so emboldened in the 3 to 5 Club to have the audacity to think it could actually work, I was like, we just got to get started. And here we are.
So it was a terrible plan.
Terrible plan.
Did either of you die?
No.
Okay, the business is still going. Is the plan better now because you've actually hit the ground and made some donuts?
Plan's so much better.
Okay.
We're actually expanding, and I have so much fascinating data to take with me to make the plan better for our expansion and our growth, and feeling the growing pains for sure, but we're still here, and this is at the end of the day, we're still here, and she and I still have a relationship and my family still supports me, and it gets better every day.
So I want to stop on something. You dropped a mic there. There's research done by a Frenchman. I'm trying to remember his name. Francis French name. The name of the study is Entrepreneurial. It was 2011. It was a research, might even been a PhD study. It was research, fancy research, 2011. The name of it is Entrepreneurial Intuition, a Cognitive Approach. He couldn't help himself. He's an academic. He took a cognitive approach to intuition. And he researched what made entrepreneurs successful. He found 600 of them that were successful, And he studied what their decision-making habits and their movement and how they dealt with data. And what he found was two things made these stand out from everybody else. Number one, they moved on a minimum amount of data. They got 80% of it in a few weeks, and the other 20% they had never gotten no matter how long they sat on it. So they got whatever data they needed to build their minimum viable product, and they got moving. So number one, they got moving. And then the second thing he found was as soon as they got moving, this is what you said earlier, I got all kinds of data now.
Yeah.
And the second thing, they don't just go flailing out there on intuition and hope for the best. No, they use intuition to get moving. Hey, if I do this, I kind of think this could be a good idea, this idea of a donut bar. And as soon as they do it, they start researching, looking at the data that's coming at them and saying, is this a good idea? How can I make it better? And that's how the good plan becomes a great plan. Planning doesn't create movement. Movement creates the plan, and it creates the good plan. So you just dropped the mic there by saying, I moved on this. We didn't have all the information. And then as soon as you started getting information, you paid attention to it. That's the cognitive kicking in. We do not ignore the cognitive with the intuitive.
Right.
We put the two together. Einstein said the highest form of human intelligence is intuition.
Mm.
And we've lost the connection with that. We think cognition is the highest form. No, it's not. He actually said cognition exists to serve intuition. And that's what this guy found in his research. Get these guys get moving intuitively.
Yeah.
And then they use the cognitive data to see if they were right. And that leads us to success. Does it mean that you always get it right? No, of course not. But I guarantee you, if two people got the idea of opening a donut shop in Bozeman, Montana, you moved on it and the other person is still researching their data, you are so much farther ahead and you have better data.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was going to say that a bad plan gets you moving, but you do have to be paying attention. And I feel like the plan talks back to you, like, okay, now that didn't work, or that wasn't quite what we thought. And then you tweak
And
your
Cassie,
plan.
that's you looking at the data when you say the plan talks back to you.
Mm-hmm.
That's you saying, plan, here's what I know to do. Did it work out? Did that make sense? That's the plan talking back to you.
Yeah.
You're paying attention. You're using the cognitive to support that intuitive decision you made. And it's rarely going to create a bad situation for you because you are using that data. You don't run into brick walls. The people who
Right.
run into brick walls are the ones who do the intuitive thing with no data after it. They just work really hard
Mm-hmm.
and something good will happen. And they ignore the data. And that's dangerous. So we're not
Yeah.
saying that you just do that, but we are saying stop trying to leave the dock with a great plan. Jim Collins wrote a book in the 1990s, I think it was, called Good to Great. And his premise was that great companies were never satisfied with good.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to write a book that's titled Great is the Enemy of Good Enough.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you get to good until you are satisfied with good enough, the minimum product, packing boxes in your basement. You got to find out what is the basic fundamental thing that is a bad plan that is good enough to get moving. And it's the only way that Jeff Bezos got to where he was he packed boxes in his basement. What a dumb idea. It was brilliant because he executed and he got moving. So how are you seeing that unfold for you? Give me just one example of how the data has helped you do better. You put this thing out there called the Dilly Dally Donut Bar in Bozeman, Montana, and you're getting data. What's one thing you changed because you're paying attention cognitively to the data behind your intuitive decision?
There's a lot. One, just the menu. Just even changing the menu and expanding that and having different variety and, pricing variety, item variety, because you have all these ideas, but what's going to really work?
And you think they're brilliant.
Mm-hmm. And so even just something as simple as that and realizing just our location and, and wanting that retail space and Just a lot of just so many things that we've already changed just because we're like, let's get started. And then the feedback starts coming in and like, okay, now we're tweaking this, we're tweaking that. And, our pricing right away, we changed the pricing structure,
Mhm.
yeah,
Got
it's,
feedback.
mhm.
Yeah. So you've iterated the 3 steps in planning. There's 3 steps. And in bad planning, you only get 2.5 of them or 2.1 of them. So the traditional 3 steps are, where are we? Okay,
Mhm.
we're gonna open a donut shop. Where do we want to end up? Well, we want to sell these many donuts a year, and we're going to have this kind of menu, and they're all going to cost this much. And at the end of the year, we want this amount of money. Step 1 is, where are we? Step 2 is, where we want to go. And step 3 in most planning is, how do we get from step 1 to step 2? And that's called the giant how. And it's one of the worst questions in business. How do I get all the way from January 1 to December 31st? The answer is not figure it all out on January 1. The answer is figure out on January 2 and January 3 where you are
Yeah.
relative to December 31st. It's a bad plan. So we say that a bad plan has the same 2 first things. Where are we? We're opening a donut shop. And where do we end up? You just said, hey, based on what we knew, we thought this kind of donuts at these prices, and here's what we think we'll get at the end of the year. Step 2.1 is all we get. We don't get 3. You can't figure out how you're going to get all the way there. You're going to get hit in the mouth. So all
Yeah.
you get is, what should I do in, say, like the next week or the next 2 weeks to get to December 31st?
Absolutely.
What do I need to do? Because there's tons of things. But what's the one thing I might try in the next week or two relative to December 31st to where I want to be then? Change my prices, drop some things from the menu. It's that kind of movement. It's
Hmm.
2.1 movement. Every week, every 2 weeks, you do one thing, you test it, you see how it goes, you test something else, you see how it goes.
Yeah,
That's how
absolutely.
successful entrepreneurs and business owners are successful. They get out there, they get moving, and they take the data. And you're
Yeah.
all of that. What's some things you've run into that were surprising to you because you put this thing out there in this crazy idea of opening something where you don't live, and now you're getting data? Is there a left turn or any adjustments you've had to make because the data has hit you in the mouth?
Yeah, we're definitely getting into a new space sooner than we thought we would. We need the foot traffic, and where we're kind of tucked away. We had a marketing plan and it's doing okay, but really we need to be where the people are. And it just we went after it and something opened up and we're moving in probably October 1st. So we didn't think we'd be doing that so soon,
No kidding. Yeah.
but we're very excited, very excited. And the community has just been incredible at accepting us and wanting us there. So our intuition on that was right. But the location, we were like, well, we missed the mark a little, but it's good because we need both locations. So it turns out it's going to be even better for us. Because honestly, if we had tried to make it perfect in the beginning, we wouldn't end up with where we're going to end up, which is better than we ever imagined. Did that make sense?
It is. It does.
Yeah.
And to your earlier point, you wouldn't get it right early on. There's a fancy law. I don't know if it's a physics law or it's a scientific law about the idea of getting something right the first time. And the idea behind it is, don't move until you've listed every possible thing that could go wrong, and you have created a contingency for all those things could go wrong. Well, there's so much wrong with that. You could come up with 100 things that could go wrong. You could come up with contingencies for all 100 of them. And then it's 3 other things you never thought of.
Absolutely.
In the mouth. It's such a waste of time.
Yeah.
What you really need to be doing is taking the data. The data
Hmm.
tell you, don't try and come up with 100 things beforehand. Just stay 1, 2, or 2 steps ahead of them with the data. So you're looking at the data, and the data is saying, hey, if we had foot traffic, man, this thing would blow up.
Hmm.
You didn't have to figure that out beforehand. You figured out what you could. You didn't get that one, and you didn't die.
Right. Absolutely. We're still here.
Yeah, expanding. It's
Yeah.
waiting to expand.
Yeah.
So what are some intuitive things you're thinking about doing with that business or your main business in Denver that you kind of don't have completely fleshed out, but you're thinking about, hey, maybe I should try to do this in this business or some other way? What's the next
Yeah.
intuitive move?
Well, I'm thinking about ways we can partner with the community, specifically the donut shop. Bozeman is an interesting town if you've ever been there. It feels very small town, just very close knit and just good people. And they, being in the community is really important. And so we see that. And how do we connect with the community and how do we be an asset to the community and partner with them? And so, initially we're thinking partnering with the culinary departments at the schools. They have MSU and Gallatin Community College. And how can we bring something new to them, because they're culinary students, but I doubt there's not like donut shops they can externship with, and they can come do it. We want to partner with the community, so we're just we know that's going to be good. We just don't fully know how to link in there yet, but it'll come.
So that's a great example of an intuitive idea. You don't have the how yet.
Yeah.
You just have a hunch, an intuitive hunch, this somatic feeling in your body that feels right. And
Yeah.
your cognition can't deny it yet. It might have some problems with it, but it can't say this is utterly stupid. And so you got this hunch and you don't know how to figure it out. What can you do with that to begin to figure it out? What's the first step to figuring that out?
Well, we're just going to start talking to people. I'm going to start calling these schools and introducing ourselves. They already know. We've already talked to them a little bit, and just start getting their ideas on what do they need and what would they like to see in a partner, and kind of go from there. Because really, we do want to be linked with the community, in a special way, and we have to hear from them. So I just starting to just talk to people and build that from there.
Yeah, and again, I just want to tell people I love your response, because your response could have been, well, we need to sit in our ivory towers and find more and do more research and think about this more and come up with 111 ways in which we might be able to work with our community. Yeah, you could do that, but you'd been sitting on the beach after the ship left.
Yeah.
Yeah, why don't you talk to people and ask them what do they think would be a good idea?
Yeah.
And this is where the mantra comes back in. Planning doesn't create movement.
Right.
Movement creates the plan. So you're going to move,
Mm-hmm.
and will come to you because you're out there moving. So
Absolutely.
I love how one of the reasons I wanted to have you on with this, because you're so intuitive about your intuition. You just do this naturally. You didn't need all these principles. You just needed permission, I think. You needed to,
Yeah.
you weren't already crazy. I think I get the feeling you thought this way before you ever came around us. And then when you came around us, it's like, oh, I have the freedom
Yes.
to think the way I'm supposed to be thinking. I don't have to have it all figured out beforehand. This is
Yeah.
great. So good.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, you hit the nail on the head there, because I always felt like a bull in a china shop. I'm just gonna get it. I'm just gonna try something, And but when I found you guys in the group, and I was like, oh, there's nothing wrong with me. Like I'm like, this is good. I can actually use this to my benefit. But what it really came down to making it work was being okay with the data, because the data is not always positive, and
No.
the results are not always positive. And so, my old pattern would be bull in china shop, breaks everything, runs away and hides,
Yeah. Yeah, and today the difference would be bull in a china shop, break something, get the data, break something else, get the data, fix something, get
fix
the data,
it.
move forward, get the data. Yeah,
Exactly.
and so it's still okay to break stuff,
Right.
but you do it with data. I love
Absolutely.
it. So how
Yeah.
can people get a hold of you to talk more about either one of your businesses or how you took this journey? Because I think we all as business owners need community. And
Yeah.
if I'm a
Yeah.
business owner out there who started my own fill in the blank yogurt shop and I'm panicking, it might be really nice to have a friend. How can people get a hold of you just to talk or to ask you questions or to meet on a once a quarter, once a month basis to say, hey,
Yeah.
let's support each other?
Absolutely. Well, I have contact information all over both of my websites. So clovercommunicationsandstrategy.com and then dillydallydonutbar.com. I manage both of those. So it'll come to me. I'd love to talk to anybody. Community is so important. I was always alone on an island and by my own design, not really realizing it, but yeah, community's important.
it was something I don't have any regrets, but for 50 plus years, I was the rugged individualist. And I've learned later in life how much I missed the lessons I missed and the richness, the companionship and just the support, all that fun stuff. If you're a rugged individualist out there, man, find 3to5club.com or any mastermind group that you can find in the community, or call Cassie. This was fun. I really
thank you, Chuck.
Being with you, and encourage you to keep going, and don't dilly-dally, just keep going.
Yes. Or we say don't lollygag, but dilly-dally. Dilly-dally to the donut bar.
I love it. Thanks for being on the show. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you, Chuck.
That wraps up another episode of the Get Off the Treadmill podcast. If you found this podcast helpful, please subscribe and hit the like button to ensure you are receiving the latest tools you need to grow your business and to get off the treadmill. If you want more information on the 3 to 5 Club, the Crankset Group, or to book Chuck as a business advisor, speaker, or workshop leader, you can contact us at grow@cranksetgroup.com. Until next time, have a great week.